All right. Uh, we're going to do a poem you probably don't know because this translation of this mystic poem is new. Um, I'll give you the another picture of it tomorrow because I'll include it into Monday morning's thing. But here's a look at it. Look at the new book. It's uh, it's by Rabindranath Tagore, and it's Gitanjali. It means song offerings. There's a 103 of these mystic songs from Tagore, who is a Hindu mystic, but he's a universal mystic. Really, once you hit the mystic stage, you know you're universal. You're not restricted by any tradition. Although he grew up in Hindu India, and that was his background. These are immortal kinds of poems. Tagore was actually the first Asian to ever win the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for this book. It's been retranslated and rendered into what Coleman Barks, who was the translator, rendered into American English. It lived in a kind of British English archaic form for the last 100 years. And Coleman, who was a great translator of Rumi, mystic himself, great mystic Rumi and great mystic Barks, he spent some time translating it into kind of modern American English to make it more accessible. So hopefully, what Barks did for Rumi, because Rumi was unknown until Coleman took these old translations in British English and put them in American. Now, Rumi is one of the most popular poets and accessible mystics. We need mystics. We need them all. So here, this is a short. All these poems are very short. It's a short one from. It's number 28. They don't really have titles. I gave it a title when it'll be in print tomorrow when your Monday morning mailing comes out. And when I spent 18 years with Father Gregory at Gethsemane, he was my spiritual director, and this was his favorite book of poetry, the older translation. And oftentimes, when I met him on a Sunday, on a Saturday, first Saturday of the month, for 18 years we got together, and oftentimes we would meet first, and he would read me one of these poems, and then we'd take a 2-hour walk and have time to just let it settle in, and we'd ponder it together. It was really was brilliant. And so when this new translation came out, I got it right away. And the picture of the book cover will be listed tomorrow with the poem, so you can get yourself a copy if you want to explore this great mystic. Well, this is number 28. What holds me is a stubbornness. What holds me is a stubbornness. When I try to break with it, heartache comes. All I want is to be free, but I feel ashamed when I hope for that. This friendship is the real wealth, but I refuse to sweep up and throw away the strands of tinsel on the floor of my room. I hate this heavy shroud that covers me, but I also hug it close. Debt, failure, secret shame, these keep me from moving, but when I pray for release, I am afraid that what I ask for may be given. Great mystic poem. It's filled with tension and filled with paradox, and I want to tease it out a little bit and then make the link between. Always try to make the link between our meditative teaching that we meditate, and actually what we're about to do, which is to jump into the inside to actually do a meditation. Today, a guided meditation on learning how to love ourselves during a tough time. This is all mixed up and all twisted. If you listen to it again, we'll tease out just a few parts, but you can't explain poems. That ruins a poem. You don't want to explain a poem. You do want to share it together and ponder it together and keep pondering it. This is the kind of poem you'll see it again in print tomorrow and tomorrow morning, and just see what resonates with you. What holds me is a stubbornness. When I try to break with it, heartache comes. All I want is to be free, but I feel ashamed when I hope for that. This friendship is the real wealth. This friendship is the real wealth, but I refuse to sweep up and throw away the strands of tinsel on the floor of my room. I hate this heavy shroud that covers me, but I also hug it close. Debt, failure, secret shame, these keep me from moving. But when I pray for release, I am afraid that what I ask for may be given. It's a kind of poem you hear a couple times, and then you gotta really read it a few hundred times to get everything out of it. Let me just highlight a couple things that I resonate with. What holds me is stubbornness. I know that line. That line resonates with me. When I try to break with it, heartache comes. All I want to be is free, but I feel ashamed when I hope for that. Stubbornness, heartache, shame appears twice in here. And then this line, which is almost right actually in the middle of the poem, there's 5 short little stanzas, and this is the 3rd stanza. It's right in the middle. Then he says something that cuts against the grain. He says, this friendship is the real wealth, but I refuse to sweep up and throw away the strands of tinsel on the floor of my room. It's really interesting line, especially at this time of the year. I don't know if anybody still uses tinsel. My mother was a kind of tinsel freak. There had tinsel everywhere. It was cool because you could, if you're old enough to remember, you could come up to it, and if you had static electricity, the tinsel would come towards you. But here he's talking about sort of the decorations around something sacred, and they're on the floor now. They're sort of something that needs to be cleaned up. This friendship is the real wealth. Well, what friendship is he talking about? He's talking about stubbornness, heartache, shame, and then listen to the other 2, and we'll double back to this. Hate. I hate this heavy shroud that covers me, but I also hug it close. Shroud is what you put on a dead person. I hate this heavy shroud that covers me, but I also hug it close. Debt, failure, secret shame, these keep me from moving. But when I pray for release, I am afraid that what I ask for may be given. That last line, when I pray for it, I'm actually afraid that I might get it. I remember Pema Chodron when she was learning to do Tonglen, and we're doing Tonglen for ourselves today. When Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche taught her how to do Tonglen, and you could do it for your enemies, she remembers doing it for Richard Nixon and secretly praying that it didn't work. so there's there is that part of ourselves that we pray for things, but then there's that part of us. So what is this part of us that's the friend, and what is this part of us that holds on to the pain, holds on to the shame, holds on to the failure. We have to sort of go inside a little bit because mystics, the poems come from the inside, and then the title of this is a line from one of these poems. What wants to come through me now? It's a great title for these song offerings, as Gitanjali in the Hindu dialect. It means a song offering, like songs I give to you. What wants to come through me now? You know, you got the image of the shroud, you know, just sort of blocking not only a dead body, but a dead heart. The songs come from the heart in the mystic world, and we all have them in there. We all have our offerings to each other, but they can be shrouded, they can be covered, they can keep you sort of in prison. So there's a lot of interesting images. You can get a look at this poem tomorrow and spend some time with it. But for today, you know, that middle line, we can explore that a little bit. This friendship is my real wealth. This friendship is the real wealth. Well, the Sufis and the Quakers call this inner light that we all have, this inner divinity, the friend. So this friendship is the real wealth, right in the middle of that. But it can get locked by all the tinsel lying around. It can, you know, we could lose Christmas. We have lost Christmas, really, because of all the tinsels and all the commercialism and whatever. And there's that idea of sweeping this all away, sweeping it all out of the heart, so then the heart could be open. Lots of very beckoning images. Now, when we go to this guided meditation, guided self-taught Glenn with John Douglas in a minute, he talks about the inner true friend that we have, that we actually have to get to know. We have to get to know the friend's voice. When I introduce people to doing this kind of wordless, silent contemplation, to sit in silence. Today we'll be guided, so we'll be using words, but normally just to start to get to learn how to listen and pick up the voice of this true friend that's always there inside, never gone. The Sufis say, closer to you than the vein of in your neck. It's always there. The Tibetans actually, who are my favorite Buddhists, they don't even call themselves Buddhists. They don't have any word for that. They call themselves Nangpa. Nangpa means we're insiders. We're people who have made this journey inside. Mystics are the people who know there are two worlds. There's this outer world. They love it. It's to be loved. It's to be embraced. But they also know there's another world bigger that encompasses it, and that's the inner world. And you can access it only by going in, which is what a contemplative does. And if you do it long enough, you actually become a mystic, somebody who is at ease with this whole mystery of these two worlds, of how hard it is to get to the bigger world, the deeper world. But, you know, that's why we're here. And so we always give some time to it. So pay attention to when he's talking about how you can access the friend. You need a true friend during when times are tough. And that's why you would do Tonglen for yourself in these times. And this is a tough time, so that's why we're doing it. So the only thing you have to do is we're going to move to kind of a meditation pose. And if you can just keep your hands, I invite you to keep your hands just on your thighs, palms up, because you're ready to receive some help. That's the position there. And if you could just follow your breathing throughout the instruction, that's it. breathe and sit. You don't have to do any more, and then watch what happens. So let all the other doing go. You're just breathing and sitting. Okay. So let's start out with the breathing and the sitting. Change your if you need a different chair or you're moving to the floor or whatever, we can do that. And then in a few breaths, we'll begin.